Hi there, friend! Once upon a time, there was a world that was neatly divided into prosperous and not so prosperous economies. There were tons of fresh babies, more workers than retirees, and the middle class was excited to buy new homes and cars. Companies didn't have to look any further than Europe and United States to do well. Printed money was a legal tender for all debts, public and private, and each year had 4 seasons with predictable weather patterns. Most of us grew up learning how to live in such world and expected the rules to remain the same. But that world and those rules are soon to be over.
Goodbye!
In the late 70s, a book called Population Bomb became a bestseller. This book made the topic of overpopulation extremely popular. Governments and large segments of the public became seriously alarmed by what they saw as inevitable. We'll overrun the planet and destroy ourselves and millions of plant and animal species in the process. But over 50 years later, we're still here. And thanks to advancements in technology, we can create enough food and resources for every single person on this planet. Except we don't share them, throw most of it away, and destroy ourselves and millions of plant and animal species in the process. The reality is, by 2030, we'll be facing a population decline, a baby drought. As people in the Western countries get richer, their baby appetites become weaker. Here are a few reasons why this happened. We don't need babies to work on the fields for us anymore. We started using condoms and contraceptive pills. Women can choose whether they want babies. Education is getting more expensive. Kids are getting more expensive. We're busy doing other things and general apathy. Okay, we stop having babies. So what? That's right, we stop having babies. People in Western society stop having babies. Here's an interesting fact to think about. For every baby born nowadays in developed countries, there is more than 9 babies being born in the emerging markets and developing world. But the key message is, the decrease in birth rate will forever change the society. By the year 2040, the first millennials will go into retirement. At first look, it might seem like millennials are the most important generation for our economy, as they will soon start having families, have babies, and spend a lot of money to settle down in life. But this is merely an illusion. There is one fundamental reason why millennials are overrated. Contrary to the common wisdom, the millennials are not the fastest growing segment in the world. Here are some facts about the fastest growing segment of consumers. They happen to own at least half of the global network. In Europe and the United States, it's about 80%. They're the population above the age of 60. And by 2030, the world will have 400 million more of them, mostly in Europe, North America and China. They're largely ignored by the companies, but it's only a matter of time until they will start caring. And we will see the biggest changes ripple through our society. By 2030, the West will need immigrants. Europeans have not been making lots of babies for a long time, and as a result, they're going to have to import lots of people from abroad. And let's be real, these countries don't have a great record of integrating people in a smooth way. It's no accident that you're now beginning to see the rise of far-right parties all across Europe, because all of the immigration, so one could paint a pretty bleak picture about Europe's future. The key message is, there will be more grandparents than grandchildren. While the populations in Europe, the Americas, and East Asia are slowly getting older and dying, other parts of the world are growing stronger in numbers. By the year 2030, Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, will be the most populated city in the world, with over 37 million inhabitants. In total, 6 billion people, or about 85% of the global population, already lives in emerging market countries. By 2030, emerging market cities will hold almost half of the global population, while only 12% will live in developed market cities. And more importantly, the population of emerging markets is significantly younger than the population of developed markets. Middle classes in Europe and United States dictate most of the products and services available on the global market. For now. As you can see, the middle-class spending power of Western economies is becoming less significant each year. The United States and Europe host most of the world's middle class now. By 2030, however, China and India will be the largest consumer markets. So expect your new iPhone to have Chinese and possibly Indian regulatory stamp of approval. Even the largest Western companies have sometimes trouble penetrating segments of emerging markets. For example, in India, Netflix now also competes with Bollywood streaming services, which offer endless content for as low as 40 cents a month. Cool. More Indian content on Netflix, I guess. How does it concern me? The real question is, plastic production and consumption are still on the rise, so the short answer is probably no. As people see their incomes rise, they eat more protein and they quickly develop a preference for beef over pork or chicken. Well, it takes an average of 14,000 liters of fresh water to produce less than 1 kilogram of beef. Then think about the raw materials needed to manufacture a car or a washing machine, and then the gas or electricity required to keep it running. 2030, middle-class consumers in emerging markets will outnumber those in the United States, Europe, and Japan by 5 to 1. The leading brands of the world will no longer reflect the preferences of Western consumers. Instead, they will create products mostly for middle classes in emerging economies. Key messages: the global economy will be driven by the non-Western consumers for the first time in modern history. When the West becomes truly rivaled by China and India, things might look different. The largest markets write the rules of the game, simply because they are large and influential. But the newly emerging middle class is not the only transformation that will piss off white men.
This is a woman's world.
In the early history of modern world, higher education was designed for men only. However, for the last 200 years, things have been changing. Since the late 1970s and early 90s, women have surpassed men in number of bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. Nowadays, women receive the majority of undergraduate and graduate degrees in US and Europe. The new socio-economic position of women will bring a lot of changes. Today's economy is heavily influenced by women. It is estimated that women drive between 70 and 85% of all purchasing decisions. Women are also getting rich faster than men. So much faster that by 2030 more than half of the global wealth will be owned by women. Better understanding of women as consumers, savers, and investors can provide companies with phenomenal new market opportunities. In fact, no company will succeed if it fails to understand women's needs and decisions as they take control of the largest share of global wealth. To do so, these companies will only have to solve the world's biggest mystery. What do women actually want? So, does this change the state of the world by 2030? If you believe that men and women behave differently, the answer is yes. Key message: there will be more global wealth owned by women than men. Okay friends, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next episode.